Hello everyone. Let's get on to the second part of the lesson, disease. This is a science lesson for 5th standard. The lesson is diseases, and I want you all to open your books on page 166. Now, as I told you, I will first listen to my reading the text, and then I'll go on to the detailed explanation of the matter. Prevention of communicable diseases. The spread of communicable diseases can be controlled by taking the following measures. The patient should be isolated from other members of the family as much as possible. All articles used by the patient should be disinfected. They should not be used by anyone else. All cases of infectious diseases should be brought to the notice of the health department to enable them to take the necessary precautions to check the further spread of diseases. Rubbish and garbage should be collected in separate bins. The bins should always be kept covered. Drinking water should be boiled and stored in clean containers. Toilets should be kept clean and washed with disinfectants. Food should be kept covered from dust and flies. The house and surroundings should always be kept very clean, and all drains should be kept covered. Vaccinations and inoculations are safe methods of preventing the spread of diseases. People develop resistance to the disease against which they are vaccinated. Prevention of communicable diseases. The spread of communicable diseases can be controlled by taking the following measures. The patient should be isolated from other members of the family as much as possible. All articles used by the patient should be disinfected. They should not be used by anyone else. All cases of infectious diseases should be brought to the notice of the health department to enable them to take the necessary precautions to check the further spread of diseases. Rubbish and garbage should be collected in separate bins. The bins should always be kept covered. Drinking water should be boiled and stored in clean containers. Toilets should be kept clean and washed with disinfectants. Food should be kept covered from dust and flies. The house and surroundings should always be kept very clean, and all drains should be kept covered. Vaccinations and inoculations are safe methods of preventing the spread of diseases. People develop resistance to the disease against which they are vaccinated. Now, in the last lesson, we had read about communicable diseases and how they are spreading from one person to the other. One is through food and water, because flies, they sit on the garbage bins and the rubbish, and then the germs from the garbage and rubbish stick on the pads of the feet of these flies, house flies, and sometimes mosquitoes, any type of flies, whatever it is. And they come and sit on the food which is kept open, or on the water containers which are left open, and the germs are transmitted. So what happens? The good food or the good water gets contaminated, and that gives rise to diseases when we consume that contaminated food and water. The second one was through air. When an infected person having a cough or a cold, or even the coronavirus sneezes or coughs, the droplets are released into the atmosphere, and when healthy persons breathe that, they get infected with the disease. That is the second way of communicable disease, how it is spread. And the third one was through insect bites, like malaria. If a healthy mosquito bites a person suffering from malaria, the mosquito takes that malarial blood of that person, and then when that mosquito bites some other person, that blood from, it is with the germs, malarial germs or malarial parasite is transmitted to the healthy person. So from one person, it goes to another person, and the agent for this transmission happens to be the mosquito. The same happens with the sandfly, and sandflies are so called because they are biting flies, and I told you they spread the disease called leishmaniasis, or leishmania you can say, and otherwise known as kala azar also, and it is also known as black fever. Now, why it is called black fever? Because the skin turns black for the patient. That is also a communicable disease, and also sleeping sickness that is spread through the tsetse fly that is found mostly in Africa, and the disease is Trypanosoma gambians or sleeping sickness. And I told you it is called sleeping sickness because the patient or the infected person has a disrupted sleep pattern, cannot sleep in a normal way like you and I do. So now coming to the topic, how to prevent the spread of these communicable diseases. Now the first one will be the patient has to be isolated. Now even you see in corona, when a person gets the coronavirus or the COVID-19, the patient is asked to go in quarantine. That means he or she has to avoid contact with the other members of the family, with the outside world. In fact, the patient has to stay in one room, and the vessels used by the patient, the plate, cup, saucer, fork and spoon, the toilet, the clothes are all disinfected at all times, so that it kills all the germs or the virus that is present in them. Now how do you disinfect? Disinfectant is done, or disinfection of these things, disinfecting these things is done by washing them with hot boiling water. Hot boiling water only will kill this virus, otherwise it will not die. So that is one method of isolating the patient. Even if you get chicken pox, you get measles, you get mumps, cholera, typhoid, all these communicable diseases, the patient is isolated. That means kept separate or kept alone in one room from the other people of the house. That is one method. The second one is all items used by the patient. As I told you, the patient's clothes, the patient's bed, chair, table, the cutlery, crockery used by the patient is disinfected or sanitized using hot boiling water that kills the germs. And all these articles are not used by any other person in the household or family. Next one, all cases of infectious diseases should be brought to the notice of the health department to enable them to take the necessary precautions to check the further spread of disease. Now, as you know, the corona patient, once he or she is identified with that virus, immediately the health department comes and transfers that person to a hospital that is specially meant for corona patients. So the same way, when somebody is identified with a disease having tuberculosis or measles or mumps or chickenpox, the health department makes the necessary arrangements to see that this person gets the necessary medical aid at the correct time, the correct doctor, and she is isolated and kept in very hygienic conditions so that the infection is not passed on to the other people. The health department has health workers who constantly keep a look on the development of the disease and the progress of the patient against the disease when that patient is having any of these communicable diseases. Then rubbish and garbage. As I told you, we all have a lot of rubbish in our houses, whether it is a sort of paper or a cup, plastic cups or plastic spoons, or vegetable waste, or waste from the chicken, mutton, fish. A lot of waste accumulates in every house after a day. Now this should be disposed of properly. Either you have to keep all this waste covered in a bin. It should be covered, because this after some time the waste starts smelling, because decay steps in, and then you have the germs coming and sitting on this, and then flies will come and sit on this, and naturally the germs will stick on the flies. As I told you, the flies, the feet of the flies have sticky pads. It's not visible to the human eye, but under a microscope we can find that this house fly, the so-called house fly, has a sticky pad on the underside of its leg, to which these germs get stuck. And when it goes and sits on the food particles or water, drinking water, the germs get transferred and others will get infected with the disease. So always rubbish and garbage bins should be covered and kept to prevent the spread of these germs. Next one is drinking water. Now drinking water should be boiled, and boiled not just lukewarm. The water should be boiling above 100 degrees so that the germs will be killed. It is not just lukewarm, it should be boiled and then cool and taken for consumption. Boiling only will kill the germs. Then another thing is that now when you are traveling, you buy a bottle of water, Aquafina or mineral water. So many types are there available in the market right now. Aquafina is supposed to be the best till date from the Pepsi company. But remember, whenever you buy a bottle of water, you should look for the expiry date on the bottle. Now, why is that? You are going to ask me, does water have an expiry date? No, water does not have an expiry date, but it is the container, that is the plastic bottle, which will have an expiry date. So usually you will find the life will be 6 months to a year. So remember, next time when you people go out to buy a bottle of packaged mineral water, look for the expiry date on the container, because it is the plastic that expires, not the water. If water had an expiry date, all the water in the lakes, rivers, oceans would be getting stale or bad and would not be suitable for aquatic or marine life. So remember, water doesn't have the expiry date. It is the bottle, plastic bottle, which has the expiry date, because after a particular time, the time period, this plastic will start degenerating and slowly the ingredients or the chemicals of this plastic bottle gets mixed with the water. Next one is toilets. The toilets in our house and even in the school, if you are going to school, should be kept very clean. It should be washed with disinfectants. Now, disinfectants are used to kill the germs, because many people use the toilet and many people will be carriers of so many germs that we do not know. Right now when I am talking to you, I may be having the coronavirus, but I may not know, because I may be healthy, I have a lot of immunity, I am resistant. But when I speak with somebody else, I may give that virus, and if that person, the opposite person, happens to be a person with a weak immunity, he or she will fall a prey to this coronavirus. So same thing applies to the toilets. Toilets will have so many germs and bacteria, harmful ones, that need to be killed, and for that reason the toilets in your house, in the school and other public places should be always cleaned with disinfectants like Harpic and phenyl. Black phenyl is a very strong disinfectant. It will kill all the germs, and it has a very strong smell. That smell itself drives away all the small insects that are living coming there to the toilet, like the mosquitoes, the flies and all that. Then you have the food. Now food, we all prepare food at home, isn't it? But many a time we find when food is brought to the table and it is kept open, and after a long time we come and eat. Now that is not the correct procedure. Once food is prepared and kept on the table, it should be covered with net type of plastic thing or a light netted cloth, so that it is prevented from the attack of germs through the flies and other you can say mosquitoes or other insects. Then coming to the house. The house and surroundings should always be kept very clean, and all drains should be kept covered. Now you must remember, during rainy season, we should not leave any coated shells outside in the yard, or broken mud pots or broken tins. Why? Because water collects in these containers, and then mosquitoes lay their eggs in this water. As soon as mosquito lays their eggs, after a couple of days, the maggots, that is the young ones, they hatch, and then they develop into the adult mosquito and spread. Of course, later on it gives to a rise of a lot of diseases like malaria and you can say chikungunya and diphtheria. Sorry, not diphtheria. Yellow fever. So many things come into play. So to avoid the growth of mosquitoes or the spread of mosquitoes, remember that coconut shells or open buckets or open containers should not be left around during the rainy season in your yard or around the house, because it becomes a breeding ground for mosquitoes. Next one is vaccination and inoculations. Now, as a child, you remember once you are born, and after a particular period of time, you are taken to the hospital for the first set of vaccination, or then the second, after another period of time, 2 or 3 months, the second and third, you get a polio vaccine. Now, why is that? That vaccine helps you not to get the disease polio. Now, people are trying, scientists all over the world are trying their best to find out a vaccine for coronavirus. I do not know how far they have succeeded, but as per reports go on, very soon a vaccine is going to come into the world which will save the lives of millions of people. We do not know how far it's going to work out, but that is what is the present status of the vaccine for corona. At the same time, you have vaccination against smallpox, against cholera, typhoid, and many other types of vaccination are available. When you travel to African countries, as I told you in the last class, the government will ask you to take a vaccine against yellow fever, because yellow fever is a prevalent disease in the African countries. Now next page, page 167. Vaccinations for diseases such as typhoid, diphtheria, yes, whooping cough also is one disease that you need to take a vaccine. Whooping cough, tetanus, polio and rabies are available today. Now rabies is when a mad dog bites you or a dog bites you. You have to take a vaccine. That is to prevent you from getting attacked by the rabies germs. So that vaccine is also available now in the hospitals. Previously it was for a course of 14 days, but now it has been reduced to a very short period of time. Non-communicable diseases. Diseases that do not spread from one person to another are called non-communicable diseases. Now if I have diabetes, if I touch you, or if I'm going to play hopscotch with you, or if I talk to you, or come to your house and sit and talk with you, you're not going to get diabetes. And if you have a heart problem and you come to my house and sit and chat with me, I'm not going to get the heart problem. So that is a non-communicable disease. Diseases that do not spread from one person to another are called non-communicable diseases. Diseases such as diabetes and heart problems are caused due to the malfunctioning of body parts. Some diseases are caused due to the lack of specific nutrients in our food. Such non-communicable diseases are also called deficiency diseases. As I told you, non-communicable diseases, if you have diabetes, it cannot be passed on to me. If I have problem with the heart, it cannot be passed on to you. So these are non-communicable diseases. But why it happens is because some of our body parts are not able to function properly. Now diabetes is caused because the pancreas is not able to function properly. Either too less of insulin is produced or too much of insulin is produced. And that gives rise to diabetes mellitus. Diabetes is of two types. Now coming to the heart. Now for some people, heart is not very strong, as you can say, or some people will have trouble with the valves, because there are two valves, the atrioventricular valve. So the valves may not be strong enough, or may not be opening and closing at the same time, or they may have a problem with the diastole and systole. So many such problems related to heart, because the heart is not functioning properly. So all these have remedies, of course. They should consult a cardiologist. Next is deficiency diseases. Now some type of minerals or vitamins are lacking in our diet, and then what happens is we get that particular disease. Now in your textbook you have a table with the name of the disease and the symptoms and the cause or lack of the vitamin and how it is cured. By eating what type of food we can overcome the lack of those particular vitamins which are in our body. So look at the table please. Night blindness. Night blindness is not seeing in the night. It is you cannot see in dim light, and it is caused by the lack of vitamin A. And eating carrots, spinach, fish and papayas is the best remedy. Then coming to rickets. Now rickets is a disease where you have the legs, the bones of the leg are like a curved form. Many children you will find when they are small, they have this bow leg. It is also known as bow leg, or otherwise rickets, and that is a deficiency of vitamin D and calcium. And even you see coronavirus, that is caused because of a deficiency of vitamin D, and doctors advise the patients to take a lot of vitamin D. So calcium deficiency and vitamin D deficiency causes rickets, also known as bow leg. And for that you have to eat a lot of fish and milk, because both are rich in calcium. Then you have goiter. Goiter affects this part. this part becomes a bit, bulge sort of. That is goiter. And for goiter, it is the lack of iodine. Swelling in the neck region. This part you have the goiter, and the cause is iodine deficiency in the diet. So then what is the remedy? You have to take a diet that is rich in iodine and using iodized salt, eating seafood. If you eat seafood, that is a fish that is from the sea, not from the fresh water, then you will be able to take in a lot of salt. And also you should have a diet that is a little bit rich in salt, iodized, and you see the market gives you a lot of iodized salt packets. So try to use that to overcome the deficiency of iodine in the body. Next is scurvy. In scurvy, you have gums that are bleeding. Some people, when they go for brushing their teeth early in the morning, after brushing immediately they find their gums starting to bleed. Now this is because of the deficiency of vitamin C. Now to have vitamin C, you should have a lot of lemons, oranges, all the citrus fruits. They carry a lot of vitamin C. Regular intake of lemons and oranges. If you have a glass of lemon juice every day in the morning, or you take an orange every day, of course you will be able to overcome the deficiency of vitamin C. Now anemia. Anemia is the next one, fall in hemoglobin level in blood and weakness. Now hemoglobin is the red pigment in blood that is made or in the bone marrow. Now if that is absent in your blood, the oxygen cannot be absorbed by the blood, because as soon as oxygen is absorbed by the hemoglobin, it becomes oxyhemoglobin. So when this is not there, this hemoglobin presence is very little in the blood. The proper metabolism or processes of the body does not take place, and you become anemic. Now when you look at a person who is anemic, if you just check the eyes like this, you will find it is very, very pale, and immediately the doctor who is examining you will know that this particular person is anemic. And here also it is a deficiency of iron. So deficiency of iron can be got by eating a lot of nuts, pulses, fish, eggs and spinach. Spinach is a green vegetable. Now kwashiorkor and marasmus. Now here you have a stunted growth. That means people, they become very short. They don't grow to the normal height. I don't say they should grow 6 feet and 10 feet, but there's a normal height for an average Indian male and an average Indian lady, but some become very stunted, and that is because of this disease, marasmus. And kwashiorkor, they have a swollen stomach. You will find that some people have a very big stomach, not because they are eating too much, it is because of lack of protein in their food. So these two diseases are caused because of the lack of protein, and the only remedy is to take a diet rich in proteins. That is all the pulses, legumes, eggs, meat that is rich in proteins. Now with this I come to the end of the chapter. I hope you will read through properly and listen to my video once again in really well, so that you can take in whatever I have said. Thank you.